somewhere to get to. Everybody everywhere with glory bound. Yeah, everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on, and everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Well, everybody everywhere with glory bound. Yeah, everybody everywhere with glory bound. Hey, everybody everywhere with glory.
Well, friends of Lancaster, especially the two of you, we're really glad that we are here. Now, those of you that are watching this online, those of you that are watching this little merry band of Oak Common do-gooders travel all around this country, we're really glad to have you all with us too. But we're especially glad to be here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, because what we know is true is what happens in Pennsylvania is what's going to run the country when it comes to who the next president is going to be. And the reason we pulled this big bus up outside the White House on January 2nd and been driving all around this country ever since is because we want to send a message to the inhabitant of the White House that change is coming on Election Day, and it's going to come out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, as well as other places around this country. But we're really glad to be here because 2 years ago, we were in this parking lot with a tour that we called Flip Congress for the Common Good, and this district out of this parking lot flipped Congress. Pastor Katie, you remember that? Flipped Congress, and we're really glad to be back here. So we were traveling around Pennsylvania. We thought whatever we can do, however we've got to do it, whoever we have to call and cajole, we're going to be back in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, because we know that a lot's happened in Lancaster. Some people don't know that Lancaster, Pennsylvania was the United States Capitol on September 27, 1777 for one day, and one day it changed and it held this country safe, and it's going to do the very same thing on November 3rd, 2020. And we're traveling around because we're all hearing things that don't sit so well with our souls. We're hearing people tell us that if you're truly a Christian, if you're truly a person of faith, if you're truly somebody in the way of Jesus, you have to vote for Republicans, and we're here to remind you that that has never been the case, and it certainly isn't the case now. Now, a lot of us can get a little heartbroken when we see people of good conscience and good faith cower in front of their friends and family and not raise their voice. So if anything, what we want to do is get every little choir in this country to start raising its voice. Small parking lot choirs, little handbell choirs, little choirs of people on street corners to start warming up, because we're going to sing a song on Election Day. Now, we could spend all of our time here today reminding all of us and all of you online what a failure Donald Trump has been as the president. I've got to tell you, I think he has been a failure in being president, the way he was a failure of the person who ran Trump University, the way his steak business failed, the way his casinos have failed. I believe the man has been a failed businessman. He's not up to the job of being the president of the United States. And we could remind you about how dangerous he is, and we need to, that he is a dangerous actor. He has dithered and denied and done nothing about COVID, and that has caused thousands of people to suffer in this country and for an economy to crash. We could remind you of his crassness and his corruption. Sure, we could. We could tell you about his cruelty and how he's a hazard to the planet and everybody who lives on it. We could remind you, as we should every day, of kids in cages and soldiers with targets on their backs and corrupt leaders and advisors, and how he said there were good people on both sides of racism in this country, and how he said to the Proud Boys, it's time for you to stand down, but to stand by. We could remind you of him being impeached for consorting with and bribing foreign governments. We could tell you about his disregard for all decency and honor in this country. But friends, we don't have to do any of that, because this man is like a self-cleaning oven. He does all the work for you when it comes to explaining that he's unfit for office and should not be the president of the United States. So we're not here to remind you how bad he is. You know that. We're here to remind you how good you are, and on Election Day, your goodness is going to come out. And we want to ask everybody, everywhere we can, to join in this bipartisan event where we want to say to everybody, whether they're a Democrat or a Republican, a Green Party member, or an anarchist, we want you to vote against Donald Trump on Election Day. So we want everybody in on this. We don't care what political party you're from. But I also say that I'm a pastor, and that's partly why I got into this work, because my call to the teachings of Jesus tell me I have to love my neighbor as much or more than I love myself. That sure, someone's telling me as a Christian you have to worry all about the Second Amendment, but we're here to be reminded of the Second Commandment, which is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So I want to be out here trying to tell people not to vote for Donald Trump, not because I have anything against the man personally. What I have something against is the way he's been the president, his failed policies, and his failed agenda for this country, and how it harms people. Because as a Christian, I don't want to be harmful to Donald Trump. I believe that just like all the rest of us in this parking lot, he is a child of God, the light of the world and the salt of the earth. It's true. But not every light of the world should be the president of the United States, and this man is not fit for the job. He needs to take his dim little light and move it on out of the Oval Office and stop bothering the good people of this country. So we're here to remind us that it's time for a social reordering, for a racial reckoning, and for a political correction on November 3rd, which now for us is next Tuesday. We've been traveling around the country since January saying to people November 3rd, November 3rd, November 3rd. Now we're able to say on Tuesday. Now we're at this beautiful church here. We're at a UCC church, and I love the UCC group of faithful people around this country. The UCC are famous for using this little slogan that's right on the other side of this bus. It says this: never put a period where God puts a comma. That's a great line. Never put a period where God puts a comma. But friends, we're all going to put an exclamation point at the end of "you're fired" on November 3rd for Donald Trump. So if we're going to talk about punctuations, that's the one that's going to come out. Now, we're also glad you're here, and those of you that are still showing up, come on in. We're glad to have you. We're going to sing a little to you. We're going to have a spoken word artist with you. We're going to have some people that are going to tell you from their hearts why this all matters, and we hope it does for you too. And we're glad you're here because people tell us no. They get nervous. I understand why they get nervous coming out in the midst of a COVID crisis that's been mismanaged by the federal government. I understand they get nervous when you want to combine politics and religion. People get nervous, so they tell us no. Lots of people have told us no. In fact, we got kicked out of a Goodwill parking lot. I like to remind our friends that we got kicked out of a Goodwill parking lot, and we're the Vote Common Good people. And they kicked us out of a Goodwill parking lot because they said we can't have any of that political stuff going on here. So when somebody says yes to us, we feel pretty good. And you know who said yes to us today? Well, you all did, a bunch of yes men and women sitting around here. We like a bunch of yes people. And who else said yes to us is Pastor Katie Court. She's a pastor of this great church. Katie, thank you for being a part of this with us. Thank you for sharing your parking lot with us yet again. And would you tell these good people why it is that you think all this matters, Katie?
Well, Doug stole everything I was going to say, so like what he said, but I really want to, I want to say, we were nervous too, and I'm still nervous, okay, because things are being said now. We're a nonprofit organization. It gets wiggly, right? You know who got wiggly? Christ. And I've gotten to this point, and let me just go on the record in saying, this is my decision that y'all are here. You are here because of me. I invited you here, okay? I will put that at risk because Christ told us to not be afraid when it came to stuff like this, okay? When people came to Christ to try to trap him in linguistic traps and political traps and say, well, why were you doing this on the Sabbath? And why are you using this kind of coin? And why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? Christ always turned it around on them and said, well, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you doing the things that you're doing and saying that you're doing them in the name of the law, in the name of God, in the name of love? How can you say that? And every time he turned it around, no one could answer those questions, and so they walked away. But he answered one question directly, and that is, what is the greatest commandment? It's like the only question that Jesus answered directly. And when Jesus answers directly, you sit up and listen. And what he said was, love God, love neighbor, love self. Now, when I was growing up, and this will date me, Google this or something, it was the WWJD, right, time? WWJD. And I had a WWJD bracelet, and my pastor said, how do we know what Jesus would do? Right? And that like threw me, right? And I was like, you know, and I know she was pushing back on like the commercialization of all this stuff, and I get that, and it threw me, but I know what Jesus wouldn't do, what Jesus didn't do. And Jesus did not support systems of power that kept people down. Jesus did not support systems of power that kept the poor poorer, that kept the sick sicker, that kept the lonely lonelier, that kept the endangered in more danger. Jesus didn't do that. So I can't tell you what Jesus would do, and I can't tell you what you should do, but I can tell you what you should not do.
There you go.
You should not support any system, any person, any rule that doesn't love God, love neighbor, love self. So that's what I think we're here for today. That's what I think we're here for today. That's why I said yes. That's why I am thrilled that you guys have chucked your life away and moved onto a bus to the chagrin of all of your loved ones, I'm sure. You've done it for amazing reasons, and I'm incredibly thrilled that we can give you this area to come together and just to say these things. And so thank you so much, all of you, for doing what you do, for being here, for keeping this going, for being in parking lots where you have to be kicked out, because those are the places we have to go, are the places we're not necessarily invited. What Jesus did, again, went to the places he wasn't invited, because that's where the people are who need to hear what you have to say. So I'm glad that we can invite you, and I'm glad that you're going places that you weren't invited, like in front of the White House too. So friends, love God, love neighbor, love self. Those are the things that we know 110% for certain we are called, told to do by Jesus. It doesn't get better than that. Thanks be to God.
Thank you, Pastor Katie. Dr. King said, "No one is free until we are all free," and that's what this song is about. There's a world at war, caught in suffering, silent casualties. Oh God, grant us peace. In these sleepless nights, I can hardly breathe. Despite brutality, I know that we'll be free. I know that we'll be free. So let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see, we'll all be free. Yeah. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see, we'll all be free. Yeah. In these desperate times, love will hold us here. Love will hold our hands, teach us to have no fear. So we lay our hate down to wash their feet. And when we see our brothers, oh, we'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. So let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love there's us to see, we'll all be free. Yeah. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see, we'll all be free. And we'll be free, 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 free. We'll all be free. We'll be free, free, free. We'll all be free. Oh, we'll be free, free. We'll all be free. One more, yeah, we'll be free, free. We'll all be free, yeah. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see, we'll all be free. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see, we'll all be free. Oh, we'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free.
Yeah. Another round of applause for my good friend Daniel Diedrich. Oh, how's everybody feeling today? Thank y'all for being with us. Everybody watching at home, welcome. And thank you for welcoming us here. We really appreciate that. My name is Genesis B. I am a hip hop artist, a poet, and an activist from Biloxi, Mississippi. And today I'd like to recite a poem for you called Mississippi, the Microcosm of America. Is that all right with y'all? Because Mississippi is a microcosm of our nation. Police exoneration, mass incarceration, black and brown bodies, a commodity. Mothers separated from babies, border policy. It's like that White House is painted in the Klan's ideology, and our leadership is exploiting white poverty. Keeping us separate and divided, gay versus straight, white versus black, based off of fear and far from the facts. See, I hail from a state called the mighty Mississippi. It's the land of unsolved murder mystery. I'm triggered by the trauma in my own family history. Cause my dad, he was only 5 when the Klan drive by, bust bullets into his house with 6 children inside. On the back of the truck, a Confederate flag flying high. And these are the truths that some choose to deny. See, Mississippi, like America, eats your child and mine. The white supremacist lie is a prison of their own design. Some have forfeited their humanity in order to deny mine. Because white supremacy is a lie, and some have accepted it, a Confederate curse they inherited. Bigotry is blinding, and their fear of the other has blocked their own blessings from the sisters and brothers. Ain't it a shame? Outrage, fatigue, I'm screaming I can't breathe. From the top it trickles down, from our judges to police. Because the illusion of freedom is far more dangerous than any jail cell or cramped cages. Yes, Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation, where cowards replace white sheets with fake avatars, repeating their parents' folklore, tooth fairy, Santa Claus. The history's whitewashed. Google black codes and bylaws. In the comment section, sound off, sound off. Lord, they sound off, don't they? They call me a nigger, a bitch, or a dyke. You can call me whatever you like. I've been through worse in this fight. And the hatred in their words just proves that I'm right. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of a country that always needed me but never wanted me. My melanin and skin is a sin sentenced to build your economy. Pack the prisons. Fill the quota. Make us felons, never voters. Travel bans and deportation, killer cops, no resignations. Just federal indictments and mock trials, you see. My heart bleeds as that billboard reads, "Make America white again," as my favorite rapper concedes. Kanye. Making me question everything that I believe. And still, I love America, I do. Because I have hope. Some choose to jump ship, and some steer the boat. See, I know that love and humanity lives in the smile of every child, in the heart of every kid. So be brave enough to break the curse. We need you at the polls, out in droves, fighting against this bigot you oppose. Study law, run for office, make a call, write your Congress. Use your voice and choose a march. Ruth is gone, grab the torch. You can read a book, write a rap. Just speak with truth and deal with facts, please. Alt-right affiliations of Trump administration, Confederate infiltration, neo-Nazis showing faces. Just fueling the fear and the hatred while expanding their corporations. Do you see now how Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation? I'm Genesis B, y'all. Thank you.
Got a few friends I can trust. I've got a couple more, baby, but we don't talk that much. I've got a woman, thank God, she's the best I've ever seen. Well, she keeps me rolling like an 18-wheel machine. And I'm on a roll. Hey, America, see, I'm looking for a sign. Hey, America, just a little sign of life. See, I'm an Indiana boy with a heart that won't sit still. Well, my cup is running over, but I still ain't got my fill. So won't you pray for me, Mary, that I keep my spirit bright? Can you help me, Jesus, when I wanna give up this fight? 'Cause I'm on a roll. Well, I've been rolling on. Yeah, I'm on a roll. And hey, America, see, I'm looking for a sign. Hey, America, just a little sign of life. Hey, America, see, we've been living by faith, not by sight. We've been driving through these mountains in the middle of the night. There's a rain coming down, but I think I see our light. Hey, America, hey, America, hey, America.
Hey, I'm Vanessa. I'm an artist and a pastor and a wife and a mom. I've been my husband and I have been in churches for the last 25 years, pastoring all over the country. And we started a church in Northwest Arkansas. That's where my home is. But Pennsylvania's home to me. This is where I'm from. This is my home state. It's where I went to Bible college, where I met my husband. It's also where I was born, and it's also where I went to a little private Christian school growing up, where my parents sent me. You know, they were trying to give us a better start. And they didn't know that that little Christian school was kind of a dark place. It was one of those places that they were trying to show us the importance of religious liberty by taking away all of ours. Yeah, so it was a lot of rules. And a lot of rules for us girls in particular, for us to be pure and to not cause our brother to stumble, and for us to be very moral people. And so you might be able to understand just how I felt when those people and others like them threw their arms around Donald Trump and threw women under the Access Hollywood bus. Yeah, so I want to tell you about how I got out from under that bus and got on this one. Yeah, so about a year ago, August 3rd, my kids were all home. I've got 2 college kids, a high schooler and a little bitty 6-year-old. And we were going back to school shopping at Walmart, like you do. And I held up the phone to take a picture of us all in that ugly mom minivan. And they didn't want to do it, and I made them do it anyway. And when I brought the phone down to post that picture to Instagram, I saw a breaking news alert on my phone. And there had been another shooting. The shooting was in El Paso.
It's kind of sad that we had gotten used to shootings, right? Yeah. This one, though, this one got me. Yeah, as the details came out, we found out that this shooter had literally laid out his guns in the name of Trump, spelling out Trump's name. Posted a picture of that on social media. And then we heard from the eyewitnesses that as that shooter went through the store, that shooter would save their ammunition, pass over white people, and use their ammunition on brown people to kill as many brown people as he could. See, you got to understand that my third child is adopted. She's a Latina. Beautiful, dark brown hair, big chocolate eyes. She's everybody's favorite person. She sings like an angel. She's funny. And to think that if we had been in the El Paso Walmart instead of the Walmart in Arkansas, that shooter, for no other reason than the color of her skin, would have passed over me and the other kids and my husband and killed my daughter. And so I was so haunted by that. I went around in a fog for about a month, and then I got on a plane and I flew to El Paso because I needed to see this with my own eyes. And so when I got there, I saw this long memorial that the people had put out outside of the Walmart. It went on for the length of a football field. People were still coming there to weep. I also saw the border wall, that rusty structure along our southern border. You know, my son goes to college in New York City, where they have Lady Liberty. And there we have this ugly, rusty wall. And I also saw a border detention center, where Homeland Security is protecting us by separating little children from their mummies and daddies. And that's where I had to have a little chat with God, because what I had seen was troubling me so. I knew I needed to say something, but I'm literally nobody. I'm not an Instagram influencer. I'm not famous. I'm just a regular person. And I remember telling God, nobody is going to listen to me. Nobody is going to care what I have to say. And you know what God said to me? She said, "You haven't said anything yet." You see, I know how it feels to be a little kid in a dark place. That school that I went to, it was a dark place. We talk about Donald Trump being a monster, and I believe that. But our school had a monster too. You see, around the corner where nobody could see, he had a little place where little girls would pass by, and he would do to them exactly what Donald Trump bragged that he could do. He would touch them and grab them without their permission, treat them like a thing and not a person. And when the news came out about that, the men that ran that school, those good religious voters, they gave that man a love offering and they sent him on his way. Now, I know that my story is not unique. And I know that evil exists, but there's a special kind of evil when you see something bad happening and you don't do something. You see, for many of us, the last 4 years have felt like walking by that place where the monster was under the stairs. We don't know when he's going to do something to us. And we have been frightened and unsettled and terrorized by his words and his actions for the last 4 years. And back then, we needed a pastor. We needed a priest. We needed a protector. And now, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we need some kind of peacemaker. We need a president, and we have this piece of work. So I am asking religious voters, I am asking everyone, do not give this man the love offering of your vote. I am a mother. I'm a spiritual mother. I'm an adoptive mother. I'm a biological mother, and I am asking, vote like a mother.
Thank you, Vanessa. My name is Daniel Dietrich, and I grew up in the church, singing in the youth band. Eventually, for the last 14 years, I've been a worship pastor. And, my upbringing was really great. I had some wonderful people around me that taught me to take the words of Jesus seriously. And that's why I was so confused in 2016, like Vanessa said, when the community that raised me, the larger-than-life voices that shaped my faith, seemed to turn their back on that faith and those values and vote for a man that looks nothing like the Jesus I came to know. And so I wrote this song as a sort of lament, as a rebuke, and as a loving call to come back to the way of Jesus. It's called Hymn for the 81%. I grew up in your churches, Sunday morning and evening service, knelt in tears at the foot of the rugged cross. You taught me every life is sacred, feed the hungry and clothe the naked. I learned from you the highest law is love. And I believed you when you said I should trust the words in red to guide my steps through a wicked world. I assumed you'd do the same, so imagine my dismay when I watched you lead the sheep straight to the wolves. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. They started putting kids in cages, ripping mothers from their babies, and I looked to you to speak on their behalf. Oh, but all I heard was silence, or worse, you justified it, singing glory, hallelujah, raise the flag. See, your fear it turned to hatred, but you baptized it with language torn from the pages of the good book. You weaponized religion, and you wonder why I'm leaving to find Jesus on the wrong side of your walls. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. Come home, come home. You're better than this. You taught me better than this. Come home, come home. You're better than this. Oh, you taught me better than this. Come home. Come You said to love the lost. I'm trying to love you now. You said to speak the truth. That's why I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you're putting my mouth? May love overcome, injustice roll down. 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 Thank you.
There we go. All right. Thank you, Dan. Him for the 81%. You can find that song on YouTube. It has 700,000 plus views. So you can add to that. I won't mind if you Google while I'm talking. My name is Nick Brock, and I am from Grand Rapids, Michigan. So it's good to be here in Pennsylvania. This weather is very similar to Grand Rapids, so it's all right. In 2016, a then candidate Donald Trump was on the campaign trail in Sioux City, Iowa, one of the most conservative Christian communities in the nation, a community not unlike my own, and perhaps similar to yours. And while he was there, he addressed a crowd of curious and eager white evangelicals, and this is what he said. Christianity is under a tremendous siege, whether we want to talk about it or we don't want to talk about it. He then continued, Christians make up the overwhelming majority of the country, and yet we do not exert the power that we should have. Christianity will have power. He then concluded, if I am in the White House, you're going to have plenty of power. You don't need anybody else. I am going to represent you very, very well. Remember that. In effect, and under the guise of Christianity's newly appointed savior, Donald Trump wanted to cut a political deal for power with Christian voters and have them sign their name on the dotted line. And they eventually did, to the tune of 81%, as Dan pointed out so eloquently, and 60% of white Catholic voters. But the politics of Trumpism, a species of hysterical intolerance and oppression built on demagoguery, intimidation, and a cult of personality, sold us a bill of goods that was and continues to be a false, distorted, and hijacked view of the Christian narrative for power we find in the life and teachings of Jesus. For those of us who call ourselves Christian, it is high time that we remember very, very well who we represent and who represents us, because as a body politic and as the body of Christ, we have missed the mark, and it has been 4 years too long. Can I get an amen? In stark contrast to the politics of Trumpism, the politics of Jesus undermines the meaning of power at every turn, even when lynched upon a tree, crucified. Both tactics used as a form of ethnic intimidation to enforce law and order, while the oppressor literally stands back and stands by. A naked, sexually abused, brutalized, dehumanized, non-white Jesus suffocated upon a cross, whereby the words, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe fully embodies the crucifixion experience, because with a loud cry, Jesus breathed his last. It is precisely this I can't breathe Jesus who was murdered under the heavy knee of a system that said his life does not matter, wanting his fledgling group of friends, religious scoffers, and elite government officials to re-examine and reimagine where and how power from above manifests in the streets below, in the public square, and in church parking lots such as this one. Isn't that right, Pastor Katie? In other words, the way that Jesus died at the hands of first century Rome is as relevant and subversive for us today in 21st century America. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here, friends? The politics of Jesus, where on earth as it is in heaven, is not just a short form prayer to climb the rungs of the spiritual ladder, but also a public policy statement about how the space between heaven and earth becomes so razor thin that you could hardly differentiate between the two. And the framework of its constitution could be summarized as thus: let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, did not regard equality with God as something to be exploited, but emptied himself, taking the form of a slave and being born in human form. And it is within this likeness that he became humble and obedient, even to the point of death, a lynching on a cross. Transformational power does not occur through the ascent of your ego. It is not through the ascent of your stock's value or the worth of your 401k retirement plan. It is not through the ascent of your religious institution or your church denomination. And it most emphatically is not through the ascent of your political party. Donald Trump cannot save you. Joe Biden cannot save you. The way to transformational power that transcends the powers and principalities of this world, that crosses the divide and gives new life to me and to you and to us, begins in recognizing critical moments such as this one that call us to go beyond our own selfish needs for violence, dominance, and exploitation, so that resurrection becomes not just something that happened long ago or something that will happen in the future, but is a constant reimagining here and now. In other words, your kingdom come, your will be done. In the final analysis, then, Donald Trump is right. And I bet you didn't expect me to say that, because neither did I. It's just that he and his enablers have yet to conclude that Christianity already possesses it, and has since long before 2016. For in the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh, and we have seen Jesus full of grace and truth. So in closing, I have chosen to say no to the politics and re-election of Donald Trump, because my yes is grounded in the politics of Jesus, where power from the bottom up carries within it all of the life-giving spirit to rise up and roll away the interference of a large and cumbersome stone. Can I get an amen? Friends, may you, with your politics, choose not just to go right. And may you choose not just to go left, but may you go deeper, deeper into the mind of Christ, who calls us and works within us to do imaginably more all than we could ever do. And may you seek faith, hope, and love for the common good, not just until November 3rd, but in everything that you do. My name is Nick Brock. Peace be with you, friends.
I have to say, if I lived around this area, I would totally come to this church. And I bet that you get a lot of amens on your Sunday mornings, don't you? I can just imagine. This is a song I wrote. I started it, right after the babies got put in cages, and I didn't know how to finish it. And then the whole knee thing happened, and I'm like, this has got to be written. I hate that certain songs should never have to be written, but this one had to be written. And how we gonna build a bridge when all we do is build a wall? How can we claim we're not all the same when God made us all? How we gonna raise our babies? Yeah, how we gonna teach them grace? Preach about love on Sundays, but Mondays it's back to hate. So here's another song about loving each other, just another song about digging down deep. Take a good look at the heart of your brother. We all laugh, we all love, and we all bleed. We all want a better tomorrow, oh, 'cause everybody's had enough of all. Yeah, we could sure use some love. Oh, but getting there we much fun. Better to us, but a change. So now song about digging down. Take a good another song about just a little song about love. Thank you guys for letting us be here.
Yeah, that is Steph Mahan. Steph is out of Nashville, Tennessee. Now, I just want to tell you a little story about how we all got together, because we're here to recruit you. Now, we said, we're glad you're here, but we kind of want to take you with us. In fact, we'd love to have you in the tank with us, and here's what I mean by that. There's 4 things that get us around this country. You know 3 of them, of course. We've been talking about them all night. Faith and hope and love. You know what that 4th one is? Diesel. Diesel moves us around. So you make a contribution back at that table, we turn it into diesel, we go around the country. Now, normally we say this, and I'll say stuff like, hey, we want to take you with us. Why don't you come along on the journey? Now, we're only going until next Tuesday, and we're going to leave here, and we're going to go over to Bloomsburg tomorrow. We're going to be out in Bloomsburg right outside the courthouse, and then we're going to make our way over to Pittsburgh, and then we're going to make our way over to Hershey, then we're going to go up to Allentown, then on Monday and Tuesday, we're going to go to Philadelphia. So if you want to come with us, we'd be glad to take you in. And sometimes we say that sort of jokingly, but 2 years ago, we were in this parking lot, and Genesis B, who you heard earlier, she was only going to come do 2 events with us. She connected with us. She was going to do the one we did in Bethlehem, and then she's going to do this one in Lancaster, and that was going to be the end of us. Now she's been traveling with us since January of 2020. And then we're driving in the back of this bus in January, somewhere in 2020, and Dan had put that song together that Nick mentioned, got on YouTube, and back then it only had like 50,000 views in like a day and a half on YouTube. That hymn for the 81%. So somebody said, hey, have you heard this song? We're in the back, and I listened to it, and we all thought, hey, that sounds like what we're talking about. So we sent an email off to Dan and said, you think we could talk? And got him on the phone and said, sounds like your song, sounds like what we're talking about on the bus. Would you mind coming and doing an event with us in Minneapolis, and then maybe one in Michigan, because he lives in South Bend, Indiana? He said, sure. Next thing you know, he's on the bus with us and traveling around, can't get off the bus, he's going to keep traveling with us. And then Nick Brock, who you heard, just gave his talk a minute ago. Nick was our host like 6 weeks ago in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He did what Pastor Katie did and put a little talk together about why he said yes. And we said, hey, Nick, why don't you come along with us? And next thing you know, he talked his wife into it. Now he's been traveling on the bus with us. And then Vanessa, her son, came with us on this part of the tour. And we said, hey, Vanessa, why don't you come along? She said, all right. So she's coming. Like, this was an empty bus until all these people started coming. So that's only partly in fun, but we're also really serious about it. That's all true. By the way, all that is seriously true. But we're trying to build a movement. We're not just traveling parking lot to parking lot and live stream to live stream. What we're really wanting people to do is to come with us. Now, this particular project has a very clear definition for what we want to do. We want you to vote for Joe Biden on Election Day and stop Donald Trump. Now, I know you may not be into Joe Biden. I don't know if you are, but I want you to vote for him, and I want you to love him, and I want you to support him. I want you to put your vote behind him, because Donald Trump has got to go. But we all have to remember this. And this is why we need you to be part of this movement, because the president can't solve all of our problems in this country, and the president isn't supposed to. But the president shouldn't be the primary problem in this country. We need to get rid of this guy so we can all get back to solving very real problems in this country and not be worrying about somebody who's defying what this country is all about. So we need that work, and on November 4th, on Wednesday morning, the work is going to begin. So we need you in a movement. We need a movement of people of conscience, of good care, of common goodery. And we need people of faith to join the community of common good and to be a part of this project. So even though we don't have enough times for you to rearrange your lives and hop on a bus with us, we do want you to be part of this movement. So if you haven't already texted this good to this phone number or gone back to the back and put your phone number with us, we need you to do that. Send the word good to 66866, and here's what's going to happen. You're going to get an email, you're going to get a text back right away, and it's going to ask you for your name. Then it's going to ask you for your email. And we're not going to email you like 2 times a week. Don't worry about that. We're going to actually email you every single day the rest of this week. We really are. We got emails already lined up. I promise you we're going to email you every day, because we're going to give you an encouragement. We're going to give you a little hope. And we're going to give you a little bit of love. And we're going to give you a little bit of faith in those emails. But then we need you. We need you as we move forward, because we're just getting started. The conditions that got us into this problem in this country are not going to go away until we get our hearts and minds and actions together to do something about them. So that's what we're doing. So we're not coming to the end on November 3rd. We call it the starting line. So we'd love to have you part of this effort and this movement with us, and we'd love to take you with us. But more importantly, we'd like you to take all this stuff with you, because we've been hauling it around the country. There are shirts back there, there's hats, there's yard signs, there's postcards. We want you to take that. You know, we put these little billboards up in Scranton area and over in Grand Rapids. They have a quote from Jesus on one side and a picture and a quote from Donald Trump on the other. And these are up in Scranton. So if you got friends up there, point it out to them. This particular one says a quote from Jesus on the left: "Blessed are the peacemakers." Very famous line. Donald Trump, quote from him on the right: "I'd bomb the shit out of them." That's what we're dealing with. It's all over. There's one over there that says, "Turn the other cheek." Donald Trump's quote: "I'd like to punch him in the face." This is what we're dealing with. Now, we've had a great time here in this parking lot. Y'all been a great, friendly crowd. I just want you to know, these same people have stood up and done this with a line of 100 Proud Boys on the other side, and then we had a conversation. They've been shout down in parking lots. We've had people run up and steal our Black Lives Matter signs. We are willing to take this thing everywhere, because we have to contend in every parking lot and in every park and in every town square and in every family room across this country for these issues, because this is the alternative. So please take some yard signs home with you. Take a hat home with you. Take a couple of shirts. They're all over the place, because we're really realizing we've only got like 5 events left. We have more shirts than that. So please take the shirts home with you. So we don't want, maybe give them to a friend. Look, if you got a friend who's going to vote for Donald Trump, first of all, ask him not to, and then give him a Vote Common Good shirt. Because I promise, you know what they think they're doing? They think they're voting for the common good. And then ask him how so. Ask them to read the Sermon on the Mount with you on Monday, and then to vote with you on Tuesday, because I think they're going to vote differently. As we like to say, our friend Shane Claiborne said this at one of our last events. He said, look, Donald Trump needs Jesus, and this country needs a new president. So if somebody wants to talk to you about their faith in Donald Trump and their faith in God, tell them that. That's a great line. But please take some of this with you. Take a couple of good lines maybe from here. Take a song, take a friendship, take something home, and start to spread this word, because we need to do it. And if you have friends in Bloomsburg, if you have friends in Hershey, if you have friends in Pittsburgh, if you have friends in Allentown, well, if you have friends in all those places, you're the friendliest person I've ever known. But if you have one in any of those places, tell them, and then get some people to join you on Election Day. Our final ask is this. Can you give us 7 more hours? You've already given us an hour tonight. Now, we're not going to take 7 hours tonight, even though this talk feels like it's never going to end. Would you give an hour tomorrow? And would you give an hour on Thursday, and on Friday, and on Saturday, and on Sunday, and on Monday, and then on Tuesday? Would you talk to somebody? Would you ask them to join you? Would you pick up some postcards in the back and mail them to friends and ask them to join you in stopping Donald Trump on Election Day? Would you give an hour a day for the next 7 days, all the way through voting time? Would you find a voting booth somewhere around here and go to the people in line and cheer them on and hand them a bottle of water? Make sure they don't leave line or play with their kids so they can go in and vote? Would you find a way to help people? Because here's the thing. We know from working with behavioral change experts, and a lot of us being pastors and people working in ministry, that there's 3 conditions that are in place when someone changes a habit. And look, voting is a bad habit, or voting is a good habit, and we want people to make it a good habit. So people get habitually stuck in their voting patterns. And we know 3 things move somebody out of a bad habit into a new way of life. One is information. They need to know some new things. Well, Donald Trump gives you new things every day to inform you about why you shouldn't vote for him. But secondly, you need an invitation. You need someone to say, come and join me. It's remarkable how important the invitation to join me is. This would be true if you were changing your eating habits, learning a new language, breaking an addiction, any of this. Information, invitation, and then third, participation. You need a community to join. We know that, don't we, Pastor? That's why we're doing this kind of work. That's why we create these events every week, because we want people to join into a community. And look, there's a lot of voters who feel stuck with what's in their head and what's in their heart, and they need you to invite them into a community of participation. So would you give an hour a day for the next 7 days and encourage someone to be a part of that? We're so glad you've been here with us tonight. Thanks so much. We'd love to see you back at the table. Hang around as much as you want. You don't have to help us clean up. We'll take care of all that. And thanks so much, Pastor Katie. Thanks to all of you who are willing to be here and all of you online. Thanks for this. We got work to do, and we'll see faith, hope, and love make a change on Election Day. Amen. So thanks for being with us, y'all.